What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Dog Pound discussions. A little bit less depressed on this episode, but I'm Derek. Joining me today, the man who kayaks in his apartment because he doesn't know how sync works, Tony Battaglio. How are you doing, sir?
Go to
This is
hell.
an accurate picture, by the way. I just want it to be known. This was a live footage from Tony's
No, it's
apartment.
not.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it is. Oh, did you return that, by the way? Because
Ooh,
I was
no.
told you were going to return it.
Okay. I was working, right? And I had headphones in, and I was having some issues with our work programs. And I look over, and I turned the sink on to I don't know. I think I was rinsing a bowl out. I don't know. I was going to do dishes, right?
Definitely not your one fork, that's for sure.
Yeah. My one. It was lost in the flood. Anyways, I didn't realize the bowl was blocking my drain, and by the time I looked back over, there was water running all over my counter. I did not flood my apartment to that degree. I did kind of flood my kitchen area, but we're all good. I went into the neighbor's apartment. I did feel bad about that. She's really nice. Like I felt awful about that part. But yeah, I did not flood my apartment. I did not need a kayak. I just grabbed some towels and wiped it up, and we were all good to go. So don't let them blow this out of proportion. My apartment was not flooded. I was not kayaking through my apartment. I do not look like that. That is a Photoshop picture of some poor person that someone did. Uh, yeah. No, did not flood my apartment. Do not let them lie to you. Do not let them spread these falsehoods. Let's get
Listen,
into the game because yes,
this is, hold
it is
on.
a lot more cheerful right now.
This was God's way of telling you you need to take a bath. All right, let's talk about football.
Funny,
All right,
but
the Cleveland Browns beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 18-13. Before we get into the details and breakdown and discussion of this game, Tone Man, general thoughts.
like you said, everything's a lot more cheerful around here this week. Browns finally got a win, even though they made it very interesting. I mean, I thought that Jacksonville had caught that Hail Mary at the end of the game. I really thought we were going to lose when they got that ball back one final time. I've seen it so many times. It's just, I was ready for disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. Can we talk about the other happy news that has happened in the last couple weeks? Derek's father got released.
So the Browns won, and there's a lot to talk about. First of all, weird game, very weird game. Jacksonville's got some sort of like misty, rainy weather going on there, or at least that's what I've heard. That's how it was for the game. It was a little more rainy sometimes in the games than other, but still won. Still won. Both teams had to play in those conditions. But Tony, let's just get the elephant out of the room here. See you in the next episode, Tony. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding.
Oh, funny.
So Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson last week was absolute dog shit, to say
Yeah,
the least.
no doubt.
And Tony, in this game, Deshaun Watson went 22 of 34, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He did have 5 rushes for 20 yards and a rushing touchdown. And this leaves the hot button conversation because you have the people that say Deshaun Watson is back. Houston Deshaun is back. And then obviously there's the other side that hate him.
So
Where do you
I,
lie?
I think he showed flashes of what his time in Houston was with some of his maneuverability in the pocket and behind, like on some plays, escaping pressure. I think he was a lot more calm in the pocket this week compared to last week with his happy feet. I still don't think he played that great of a game. I think he got a couple bailouts, like that Jerry Judy catch. I mean, let's be honest, that ball should have been picked off. Uh, Deshaun played okay. He played okay in the first quarter. After that, it was a little iffy, but he got the job done, and that's what we need. We don't need Deshaun Watson to be Superman. We need him to win us football games, and he helped us win a football game. But here's my biggest gripe with Deshaun Watson, and I've said this last year: consistency. We need consistency. Everyone hung their hat on the Baltimore game and talked and talked and talked all season, all off season. Show me some consistency. That's all I want. I was dragged on Twitter left and right for saying, okay, one good performance, cool, but I want him to be consistent. I'm still saying the same thing. I want Deshaun Watson to show that he can consistently put on performances that can help the Cleveland Browns win football games. I'm not buying into the hype after 1 week, especially with all the other stuff going on. Who knows? He could put up another good performance, and then he could get suspended for the rest of the season. I mean, I just want consistency out of my quarterback that we paid $230 million for. And I know there's people on Twitter from a certain section of the fandom that are saying, well, we need to get off the $230 million, blah, 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 blah. Why? That's what we paid him. That's what we paid him to perform well. Guaranteed. We owe him $230 million as of right now, regardless. We need him to perform well. I don't want any more mediocre performances. I want consistency. And Kevin kept it simple, let's be honest. A lot of quick one-read routes, a lot of quick one-read plays, just not really letting him launch the ball downfield, not letting him really unleash the arm. He does have an arm, maybe. He might still, I don't know. He's had some shoulder injuries. It looked a little shaky last weekend. But yeah, I like the simplicity of it, and if that's what it's going to take for us to have a successful season, I'm okay with that every week. I will accept somewhat mediocre Deshaun Watson performances as long as we win football games. The running game looked good. Deontay Foreman has a legitimate case to be running back number 1 over Jerome Ford, but Jerome Ford also played well, in my opinion. So, Deshaun, basically, to wrap up the whole Deshaun thing, he did enough to help us win. Was he shaky? Yes. Was he good in moments? Yes. We just need a more consistent Deshaun throughout the rest of the season if we're going to be successful. I'm trying not to put too much weight on our upcoming game because it is the New York Giants. So if Deshaun goes crazy, I'm not going to buy into the hype either. But he just, basically what I'm saying is he did enough. We won. That's what matters. W, end of the day. Will it go that way against better football teams? Maybe not. But for now, got the job done.
Yeah, and that's the simplest way to put it. He did his job. And I'm really sick and tired of these fucking morons acting like Deshaun Watson is back, acting like Deshaun Watson all of a sudden is an MVP caliber player again. Listen, if you are a fan of Deshaun Watson, let's just separate, again, off the field and on the field. I think that is a very significant distinction as far as evaluating Deshaun the player versus the person. The player last week sucked. Could not do anything well. His eyes were in the right spot, but his body wasn't following through. He had happy feet, bailing out of clean pockets, just missing blatant open throws. This week, he didn't do that. This week, when the guy was open, he made the play. And I think what you said, Tony, is very important there. Just doing his job. What do we mean by that? He played within the parameters of the offense, right? When you look at Kevin Stefanski and his history with quarterbacks and you wonder, hey, why is Kirk Cousins playing some of his best football in this offense? It's because the Kevin Stefanski system helps out the quarterback. You mentioned it. It was a lot of simple stuff. The Browns didn't do anything crazy on Sunday as far as offensively in the pass game. And yes, we got to talk about the drops, got to talk about a certain receiver here and a few. But overall, when it comes to the game plan from last week to this week, Kevin Stefanski, Ken Dorsey really simplified things. They made it very simple for Deshaun. And a lot of people talking about this 20, 25, 30-yard box that the Browns offense is playing in within the pass game. I think we have to do that. I don't think Deshaun can throw outside of that. And this is why I say that. When you look at the game on Sunday, Deshaun Watson was very decisive with his throws, right? And again, we talked about making it simple. C-man, hit man. That's what Deshaun did on Sunday. Now, he did have some plays where he extended the play and got the ball off where it probably would have been a sack, and that's what happened in the previous week. But all in all, there was nothing really special out of the performance from Sunday from Deshaun Watson. It was bottom line, baseline quarterback play. And this should be the expectation. This shouldn't be the he's back. This should be the bottom tier play from Deshaun Watson that should be accepted. Anything outside of this should not be the standard. Because, yeah, you want to talk about it. $230 million. Oh, we don't need to talk about that anymore. Bullshit. That's what we're paying him. We gave up 3 first-round picks of this team's future to bring him here. He's probably not going to be here much longer, Tony. Last week it came out that Tony Busby was meeting with the NFL in 2 weeks and has a video that is alleged to be pretty damning. If that video is enough to force the NFL's hand to put down some sort of suspension, it's over. It's over right then and there. So while Deshaun Watson has this time on the field, he has to play his best football. And Sunday was not Deshaun Watson's best football. Sunday was Deshaun Watson just simply doing what he's supposed to do, operating in the offense, hitting the open man. And I want to touch on something that you mentioned, because I do think, and this is not me taking away from Deshaun Watson, because he does deserve the credit for what he did. He was significantly better week 2 to week 1. But I think a huge reason for that was the rushing game. You brought it up. D'Onta Foreman finally got involved in the offense. Foreman had 14 carries for 42 yards. Jerome Ford had half of that at 7 for 64. From an offensive game plan standpoint, it is much easier to call things in the pass game when you have a defense that has to respect your run game. Jerome Ford has no vision. Jerome Ford is not the guy you want pounding up the middle, trying to decipher cutback lanes and all those sorts of things. That's D'Onta Foreman. That's what he did. The 42 yards that he put up, just bruising down the middle for little chunk plays, opened everything up for Jerome Ford to get 64 on 7 carries. With that gave Stefanski, that gave Deshaun, and the offensive line, for that matter, who did not perform well, again, enough wiggle room to be able to operate in the pass game. So, listen, I think Deshaun played well, but it wasn't anything special. And we got to stop pretending like a guy who comes out and does the bottom bare minimum of his job responsibilities can't act like that's going above and beyond. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me. But Tony, would you like to kind of dive a little bit deeper here? Let's talk about the wide receiver position, because there's plenty to talk about here.
I mean, obviously, Jerry Jeudy played well. Jerry Jeudy established himself as, in my opinion, our number 1 wide receiver. The injury to David Bell sucks, but someone's got to step up and fill that role. But yeah, Jeudy played great. Jeudy saved Deshaun's ass on that one play with that beautiful catch. I thought he was incredible. He made some circus catches throughout the game. Much needed injection of life into that group. But I think the obvious standout here is the poor play and I guess overall just laziness of Amari Cooper throughout the game. He was half-assing routes, giving up on balls. That's just Amari Cooper is a gamer, and we saw last year that he was clearly one of our best players, one of the best route runners in the NFL. And that was one of the main sticking points for, I don't want to trade for Brandon Ayuk. We have Cooper. Cooper can run routes. Cooper wasn't trying to run routes on Sunday. He was being lazy. He was half-assing it. Does that trade stuff in the contract situation, does he just not care anymore? I don't know if he doesn't care. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if there's an injury lingering for Amari Cooper on Sunday. But he's got to be better. He's one of the leaders of this football team. He has to be better. I mean, the whole room, if he plays bad, it should drag down the whole room in theory with him being a leader. Luckily, Jeudy stepped up, but you can't rely on Jerry Jeudy every week. You already don't have David Njoku at the tight end position, so Cooper's got to be better. It's just that simple. Cooper's got to show more effort on the field. run his routes better or more, with a more sense of urgency, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, he has to be a better player. What we saw Sunday is kind of unacceptable from him, even with the drops. He's not a guy that drops passes. So what's going on? What's with Amari Cooper? Is it Deshaun? Is it the contract? Is it the trade? What is it? It sucks, but something's got to be figured out.
Yeah, it's tough because I can't listen. If you haven't figured it out, I'm done with Deshaun. I don't like Deshaun Watson. I don't really want him on this team, but he's the starting quarterback, and I want my football team to do well. I want Deshaun Watson to do well because he is my starting quarterback. However, you can't put any of the blame really with Amari Cooper on Deshaun Watson. I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row now. Balls hitting him in the hands, and it's a hot button argument between a lot of the fan base who maybe doesn't necessarily know the wide receiver position all that well. But at the end of the day, when you're playing receiver in the NFL, if the ball is in your general facility or hits you in the hands, you should catch it. Obviously, if it gets knocked out of your hands, there's certain things you can argue about. But we're not talking about Jamari Thrash out there dropping these passes. We're talking about Amari Cooper. And it's just inexcusable. Like you said, he looks sluggish. There's no sense of urgency. That's a great way of putting that. And then when the ball is thrown his way, it's not great. And our lovely producer, Jacob, put it in the private chat here. Per PFF, Amari Cooper is 105th out of 107 in receiving grades, on pace to have the lowest grade of his career. And, it's no fault of Deshaun Watson. The balls are hitting him in the hands, and he's just flat out not making a play on the ball. To your point on why, I think it's a couple things. I think, there's the question mark of that big 3-0, right? We've seen receivers in the NFL, once they hit 30 years old, the production just tanks. I don't necessarily think that with Amari Cooper, Tony. It's hard for me to say that he went from looking very good last year, with the 5 different quarterbacks that were throwing him the ball, to all of a sudden sucking this year. I think it is a lot to do with the offseason, and listen, he's just going to have to get over it. He's going to have to get over it. We have a season of football to play. Whether if he likes it or not, he's a member of the Cleveland Browns. And we gave him the money that he wanted this offseason to stop him from holding out. And that should have been the end of it there. The NFL's business. I mean, his name coming up in trade talks for Brandon Ayuk, I understand being frustrated about it. I understand being upset about it. But get over it. You're here. If you don't want to be here, play well this season, leave the Browns, and go to some other team. But how do you expect another team to give you a contract if you're on pace to have the lowest receiving grade of his career?
Yeah, the worst season of your career, basically.
Oh, absolutely. And, it is what it is. But on the flip side, Jerry Jeudy, this is a guy that everybody wrote off, or pretty much everybody wrote off. Called him a bust, said he doesn't have talent. He's a very average receiver. Jerry Jeudy looks like everything that I thought he was going to be. He looks fast. Route running is on point, as it's always been. His hands have been great. You mentioned it. He bailed Deshaun Watson out of a very much interception play in this game against Jacksonville. And he looks like a wide receiver 1. He looks like the guy, and he is the best receiving target the Browns have had this season. Am I ready to say that he's already the wide receiver 1? I am not. However, he damn sure is right now. He's the only guy in this receiving room that is really putting up production. This last game, Jeudy had 5 receptions for 73 yards. Elijah Moore, 6 for 44. So those two are doing a...
I did not mention Elijah Moore, but that is nice to see him kind of somewhat get things going.
Yeah, absolutely. But guess who's ahead of Amari Cooper, Tony?
Probably Cedric Tillman.
David Bell.
Yeah, David Bell, yeah.
David Bell, 3 receptions, 27 yards.
Bell getting hurt kind of made me forget about that. He had a little bit of an impact on the game.
No, he played very well, and it kind of sucks because David Bell's a guy we've been waiting to see do something, and now that he's out for the year with a dislocated hip, that sucks. But yeah, Amari Cooper had 3 receptions for 11 yards. I mean,
That's so un-Amari Cooper like. It's like
yeah, it just
that's numbers that like Jamari Thrash should be putting up.
yeah, and I'd be willing to bet Jamari Thrash would have had better numbers on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I
I
think
don't know.
maybe a hot take. If Winston were to somehow become the starting quarterback, I think we'd see Jamari Thrash put up crazy numbers because Winston has the ability to unleash and like throw that deep ball, and Thrash is more of a deep ball threat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see now that David Bell is out where those targets go, because you already have Cedric Tillman getting a lot of playing time. He hasn't done a whole lot with his time, but he is playing. Jamari Thrash, obviously there, played well in the preseason. And then you have Kadarius Toney, who is sitting in the waiting to possibly make his way onto the active 53-man roster. Do you see any scenario that Kadarius Toney becomes a impact player in this receiving?
Who knows? Maybe. I mean, maybe you play him against the Giants this week. Let him go crazy.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. But the Browns got to figure it out. And one thing I did want to mention before we move off of the offense, unless you had anything else offensively.
No.
Um,
Well, excuse me. Other than the offensive line needing to be better, that's what watching the offensive line makes me feel like. It makes me tired, and we just look awful up front. And that has to change if we're going to be successful this season.
yeah, and the concerning thing is it's the guys that should be good that concern me. Teller did not look great. Teller did not look great at all. Ethan Posick had his moments where he struggled. I thought Batonio was fine. He just looked slow and old, which understandable. But it's one thing if Jermaine Ifedi's out there looking terrible or James Hudson's out there looking terrible, but when you see Wyatt Teller and those other three in the middle having their moments, that's concerning. But we talked about the deep ball, and you just brought it up. Jameis Winston maybe gives you more of a deep passing game option in the event that he's coming in to be the starting quarterback. Tony, I don't know about you, and maybe this is just me. People who are watching at home, let me know. Do you see the same thing? For me, obviously, the quarterback position, and I'm not a quarterback coach, you're not a quarterback coach, but you pick up things watching football and watching people who do coach quarterbacks and things that they point out. Obviously, when you throw the football, it's a mix of footwork, hips, and arm, right? Deshaun in Houston had a lot more of just let it rip with his arm. This past season, Tony, I don't know about you, I see a lot more of that torque, really putting the hips and full body movement into it. I don't know. I mean, the hot button topic is zip, and does he have that velocity anymore? Even in moments where Deshaun looks good, I see him putting a lot more of that full body torque in. That's concerning to me. That's concerning to me that the starting quarterback looks drastically different in his throwing motion. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that notices that. But that's what I see. Tony's not interested in this topic.
Dude, I worked late last night. I'm exhausted. But no, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely concerning, and maybe that's just so he can get more power behind his throws with all the shoulder injuries. But like, yeah, I think that's about all we have for the offense, right? I think we can move on and talk about the defense, which was a lot better this week, obviously. Till the end of the game, and they almost gave us all a heart attack.
Yeah. Defensively from Sunday, the Browns had 4 sacks, which is nothing to sleep on at all. That's a very good day. Fan favorite Jordan Hicks got himself a sack. Myles Garrett, Alex Wright, Quentin Jefferson, all getting sacks.
Alex Wright, let's talk about that. Alex Wright's sack was perhaps the biggest of the game, right after the biggest play of the game, in my opinion, Corey Bojorquez's punt.
Yeah, Corey Bojorquez definitely gets an MVP vote for this game because that. Let's just pivot for 1 second and let's talk about that last.
Can he be home?
No, we already made our decision. But let's pivot, Tony. Let's talk about the ending sequence of that game. This man, Kevin Stefanski, loses his brain. And I thought Kevin did a great job with play calling all day. Can you please give me a logical reason and explanation why in the blue hell are we running a play action pass when the Jaguars have no timeouts and the Browns can just run the clock?
Tried to catch him by surprise, I guess. I don't know.
It's stupid.
This is a moment that will haunt me forever, off topic. Last year's Notre Dame-Ohio State game when we decided to try and run a halfback screen. Now, let me phrase this by saying, if that halfback screen would have been completed, Jadarian Price is still running to the end zone and Notre Dame wins that game. Obviously, it was not completed, and we all know what happened after. And, but yeah, I don't know. I've never, basically, to say this is I've never understood, that moment reminded me of that. I've never understood why you pass on third down late in the game. I don't care if it's 3rd and 30. Run the ball, keep the clock running. Don't risk the incompletion. And you've seen what happened. It gave Jacksonville plenty of time to try and win the game, which arguably they really probably could have or should have. And I think a lot of people thought that they caught that Hail Mary at the end of the game to win it.
Yeah. And the fact that they were even put in a position that could have gone horribly wrong. I mean, the Browns relied on the punt, and Corey Bojorquez, again, MVP, pins them back, literally, I want to say on the 1 or 2 yard line.
That was a smart play. I was in agreement there, and obviously you saw the group chats. Mm-hmm. People were saying, kick the field goal, kick the field goal. I'm like, no, you got to punt. You got to punt. You got to punt. You can't risk missing that field goal in the rain. And yes, I understand Dustin Hopkins is practically automatic. That would have been a 58-yard field goal in the rain. Mm-hmm. You miss that, they're at midfield, we'd probably lose that game.
Yeah, the only man who can make that field goal in Florida is Cade York. But no, Corey Bojorquez just pins them back, and the Browns rely on the defense. The defense comes up clutch. Alex Wright gets the sack for the safety. They go on. They can't score, and the Browns win the game. But that ending sequence was just like, I don't know what was going on.
It was terrifying.
It was.
Like, we've seen this movie before. We know what's about to happen.
Oh, yeah. No, I think every Browns fan was thinking the same. But back to the defense, Tony. I thought the Browns did an outstanding job. I think this was a drastic improvement from last week to this week. And a big portion of that, again, back to what we said last week, offense and defense go hand in hand. And the fact that the offense was able to sustain drives this week kept the defense more fresh. They held Trevor Lawrence to 14 of 30 through the air, held Travis Etienne, 13 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. I thought the secondary was outstanding, Tony. I thought Denzel Ward played one of his best games that we've seen as a Brown.
Denzel could have easily had probably like 4 interceptions in that game.
For sure. Emerson played well. I complained about the linebackers and pass coverage last week. That looked a lot better this week. That was really good. And then the run defense. This is what I want to talk about a little bit here. I thought our run defense looked outstanding this week.
Yeah, it was nice to see, especially after last week. Something we need to build on throughout the season. The whole defense needs to just continue to improve. They have another I'll call it a get-right game this week against the New York Giants. Mm-hmm. Probably could rack up some sacks throughout this game. Hopefully Myles Garrett helps me on my over 12.5 sacks prop I have for him this season. Gets about 5 or 6, but I would just like to see the defense continue to improve. Special teams, no complaints there. They've played well all season so far.
Yeah, but as far as on the ground, what I saw from that game, Tony, they were filling gaps a lot better. Right, last week against Dallas, Zeke had some room to run. This week, I think everything that ETN got on the ground, the 52 yards on the ground, he earned. The Browns took away damn near every avenue of run lanes. Guys were flying to the ball. Very good to see. One spot I do want to highlight, because we kind of touched on this last week, the safety position. Juan Thornhill is out. Ronnie Hickman was in. I liked, and again, he didn't do anything like outstanding, but as far as just, again, doing his job, I thought Ronnie Hickman did an outstanding job playing the free safety spot this game. Do you think there's any chance that Ronnie Hickman could be the guy and could buy some time for the Browns?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, if he continues to play the way that he has, I really think he deserves more playing time. Obviously, with Thornhill injured, that's going to happen. But even when Juan gets back, if we're not playing two safeties, I don't know. Obviously, you got to make a decision at some point. We paid Thornhill, Hickman, rookie deal, but I would take Ronnie Hickman in the defensive backfield more often. Obviously, I don't know. I'll take that any day. If he continues to perform the way he has, absolutely, I'd stick with Ronnie Hickman. He might be the guy of the future for all we know. There might not need a bridge safety. He might just be the starter from here on out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think at the very least, it wouldn't hurt to have a healthy rotation there.
Right.
Bringing Thornhill out, Hickman in, just kind of keeping guys fresh. That's not bad to have, when your safeties are flying all over the field. But I think that wraps it up defensively for me. You got anything else on the defense before we get to coaching?
Not really, no. We can just tear apart Kevin Stefanski a little bit.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good.
No, I thought he called a good game up until the end there, I will say that. And the timeout situation. He was blowing through timeouts in the second half, and I didn't like that.
Yeah. No, I thought play calling was drastically better. But, Tony, what did we bitch about last week? Third down.
Yep.
Penalties. Well.
Oh, God. All the penalties in this game was...
Well, did not get a lot better.
No.
The Browns were a whopping 2 of 14 on third down on Sunday, which is crazy because if you told me that stat and just said who won the game, I'd be like, there's no shot we won the game.
Right.
And if you told me 13 penalties for 100 yards, a whole football field, damn sure would say we didn't win the game.
Yeah, a lot of stupid penalties.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Dustin Hopkins was one of them,
Yeah,
but
I'll give a little bit of slack on that because people are still adapting to this kickoff shit. But
I feel like this is a quick question you can answer. Who on the Giants worries you, Tony?
Malik Neighbors.
Anybody else?
No. Malik Neighbors. Maybe Devin Singletary, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. With the Giants, it's tough because, the Browns have some of these games where, and this was one of them with the Jacksonville Jaguars, where it's like they're not really a great team, but they're good up front. The Giants up front are stacked. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau on the defensive line. Yet another week where the Browns offensive line, who has struggled in the first 2 weeks, are going to have to step it up a little bit. Outside of that, I'm not really worried of anything. Malik Neighbors had an insane, I want to say he had like 19 targets thrown his way on Sunday.
Well, yeah, who else is Daniel Jones going to throw the football to?
Exactly. So, I don't know, dude. This is one of those games where it's like we should dominate. Like we should blow them out.
Should, yeah.
But I don't care what anybody says. I can't put any stock in Deshaun Watson as my starting quarterback.
I agree.
So, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have a prediction for this Giants game?
I'm going to say 28, 28-10.
28-10? Okay. I like that a lot. I'll be a little bit different. I'll say 31. I'm going to say 31-17 Browns. But, I mean, there is definitely a world where this could go horribly, horribly wrong. Let's just put it like that. But, I think the Browns and the Giants have something in common. They don't know if they have the right fit at quarterback. But the good news for all of you at home, you can find your fit today.
At TwoOneFits.com. Check out TwoOneFits.com to get all your Browns, Guardians, Cavs merch, t-shirts, dog bowls, bandanas, sweatshirts, Take advantage over at TwoOneFits.com. Great website, great owner, very great person, great shirts. I have a 2-1-Fit shirt on right now. Munilot veteran. One of the original 2-1-Fit shirts, I love it. You got to check out 2-1-Fits. Great material, fits well, not too hot, very, great fit, everything. Again, find your fit, 2-1-Fits.com. That's 2-1-Fits.com, 2-1-Fits.com.
A+ ad read.
Every week.
Every week. Which shout out, he probably won't see this, but King Carmen, I listen to Ken and Lima's show every morning after a Browns game, good or bad, just because they're the best out there.
We're gonna have Jacob clip that, and we'll tag them on Twitter.
That's fine. But Ken, I love Ken to death, but he had an ad read. I posted it on Twitter. It was I want to say it was like Diamonds Direct or something. And he was just hysterically laughing through the whole ad read. And I was like, well, glad we're not the only ones that have fun little ad reads.
Should we get Ken Carmen on the show?
Good luck. I don't know why he'd come on this show, but Ken, I'd love to have you on. Let's
Jacob,
get in.
Your first assignment when we stop recording, clip that part and we'll go right to Twitter and try and get Ken Carmen on the show.
I'll take it. I love Ken. Ken legit is probably my favorite. Awesome. He's my favorite media personality in Cleveland, if you want to call him that. But Tony, are you ready for the greatest segment of all time and the reason why King Carmen won't come on this show inevitably? Honky of the Week.
Yeah, we have our first back-to-back Honky of the Week winner ever. Congratulations, Will Levis, for the Honky of the Week for the second consecutive week in a row. Yeah, man, what the hell are you doing? You're my fantasy quarterback. Please stop making stupid plays on the football field. I need you to win money.
Bill Levis, man. He is something else. I just want it on the record. I've never been a real big fan of old Bill Levis.
Levis?
Just never been too high on him. But I gotta tell you, Tony, I kind of want him to remain in the NFL just so we can continue to have moments like this. When I look at Will Levis, I see a guy that has future Denver Bronco written all over him.
Absolutely.
I mean, just somebody who makes boneheaded plays, whatever. But and actually, you know what? While we're talking about that, hey Denver, fuck you, because you allowed the Steelers to win yet again, be undefeated, and make that fan base think they're good because you suck.
Yeah, somehow the Steelers are still going to pull off a winning season just by pure luck.
I don't know, but let's take this opportunity, Tony, to shit on the Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens, who are both 0-2.
Yeah, Cincinnati should have won this week, though. I will give them that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, bro, but Baltimore, Gardner Minshew plays AFC North teams and just becomes MVP.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm okay with that. You know, Baltimore, every time Baltimore and Cincy lose, it just makes it easier for us to make the playoffs. So
I guess. So, well, that's all I got. You got anything else you want to add?
no, much happier week. Hopefully that continues into next week. But catch us next week, same time, Thursday morning. If Jacob hits the upload button this week, because guess who forgot to do that last week? Same time next week, hopefully. Subscribe, like the video, share the video. Share the video with all your friends and say, hey, look at these two idiots who have no idea what they're talking about. Like I don't know, man. It's Go Browns. Catch us on Spotify, College Football Dogs. Follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page. I don't know. Anything you got to add, Derek?
Ken Carmen, we love you here over at the Dog Pound Discussions.
Please
Maybe
come.
someday. But,
You're
all
gonna have
right,
to-
everybody.
You don't have to bring Lima with you, bro. Just come on. You can come on the show solo. It's okay.
You know, hey.
Shout out Nick Carnes. Should get him on the show, too.
Yeah. Go Browns. Merry Christmas. We'll see you.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah. Daniel
Happy
Jones
Hanukkah.
still sucks at football.
Yeah.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.